it's T1 that brings it back. I think they smashed BLG in a similar fashion like BLG dealt that first blow in game 1, and that's what we love to see. With that, I mean that we get at least 4 games. I would like to see a game that is incredibly close and comes down to the wire in the last fight, but you gotta compliment T1's approach in that game and the way that they made sure that they could push their advantage.
Yeah, it's actually really cool because me and Chronicler were talking about how both of these teams are so good when they're ahead, right? Like, they know exactly what they want to do with their leads, which is why I think we've seen 2 very lopsided games, and we have a great series already.
And what they do with their lead is punch your face in repeatedly, right? And it's such a sharp contrast to some of the other teams that we've seen this tournament. They just keep fighting.
Absolutely. I mean, it's 2 of the teams that have the highest kills per game of any team in the world. They're both early aggressive teams. They know how to snowball. It's both through fighting, so you just guarantee you're going to get action.
Yeah, it's that theory of if we keep punching hard and we make the right decisions, we can balloon this gold lead. We see other teams that sit back. They play the macro game a little bit more. I'm talking about you, Genji. And it doesn't always work out, as we see.
Both teams subscribe to the theory, when you're ahead, you have the advantage, so you should team fight. And when you fall behind, the only way to come back is also team fight.
Excellent. We love it. So, level 1-wise, though, again, the same story as game 1.
And I sure speak for everyone that is on the side of T1. I was never worried as we look back to game number 1. And this, to me, felt like such a, again, credit to BLG for the amount of prep that they do and how confident they are on these level 1s. They clearly have done a really good job of knowing what the movements for T1 are.
Yeah, makes sense, but if you're T1, how the hell are you falling into this trap twice?
I don't know, and I do hope they don't fall for it a third time. I imagine they had a expectation that BLG was going to play on the opposite side of the map, maybe opt into a swap to deny that Renata Kalista combo, but didn't end up working out.
Did I hear swap?
Oh my gosh, okay, so they wouldn't let me do a lane swap telestrator because they're too boring.
They can't stop
but
you!
They're not going to keep me down. So T1 lane swap, just as I wanted them to. Yeah, actually, do you,
no, just a bit higher up. Just a bit higher up.
All right, so here we go. This is XP difference, right? You see, this is pretty much from that level 1 that we just did, but look at this. Keria almost up at 1K ahead of their opponent. They made BLG have to respond to them on the map. They set up to get 6 grubs, which T1 is so good with their grub usage when they overload to try to attack turrets. We saw it from them in their last series as well. 13-18, that's special because that's around the time that On got level 6. He was so far set behind, and it really looked like BLG didn't necessarily know how to respond particularly well in certain situations in this lane swap, so credit to T1.
And it's such a big thing for T1 because they were not the lane swap team, right? That was Genji for basically the entirety of the year, and it wasn't really, I'd argue, until Worlds that we really saw them be able to get leads consistently.
Yeah, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network around the Herald, they were caught, but they weren't, Azale.
Exactly. And I actually thought this was going to go really bad for T1 because while FLICKR didn't base, he arrives to this fight at low health. Knight had base, they come back, but look at this. There's no mark from Shun on FLICKR, so he gets knocked over the wall. The hostile takeover from Keria, it just absolutely destroys BLG. The re-engage from T1 was immense, and to me, this was the end of the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of like we talked about, Azale, with what do we want Keria on, right? Like, this Renata is such a signature pick for him because of how aggressive he plays it. All 3 of us wanted him on something with more agency, and we absolutely, all 4 of us. wanted him on something with more agency, and he absolutely delivered. And I also want to put our attention to that top lane because even though Bin did more damage, I think Zeus has actually gotten the better of Bin in both of these games.
And a lot of that, to me, comes down to that rumble. And it's not like Bin doesn't know how to play the champion, but we all know what champions he excels on, right? Yeah. It kind of goes back to the point we made about Keria, which is with the Jax and the Camille, the playmaking that he is able to find so consistently is so much better. And I do think as we go to blue side, I do expect it to swap up because T1 100% has to ban that Yone and that Aurora, which really limits him and should open up some possibilities for BLG.
I mean, it's going to make it so interesting, right? Because we have that swap, and now this is where we get to see the adaptations coming into this third game. Do they identify that, hey, we need to enable Bin more in the 1v1, or are they confident that if they execute in 5v5s, the Rumble is still going to be all right? I really think that this game is going to set the tone for the rest of the series.
That's a great last note. Let's head it back over to our casters to get us into game 3.
Let's get into it. 1-1, both slaughters so far. I would like a close game.
Same.
I'm going to be honest.
Yes.
I think it's...
we deserve one,
you know,
I feel.
yeah,
the audience deserves one.
both teams have been like, they've got their wins. Now just give us a close one. We don't really mind who wins.
Fair is fair. Each got to stomp once. Now we get to see a close couple of games.
Exactly.
Let's get into it, though. Of course, the level ones have resulted in first bloods both times around.
Yep.
So we'll keep
Poor Gumayusi.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that as well.
We have seen BLG actually swap to the blue side for this game as well. So it's the first time we'll be seeing them on the blue side this series. Do you guys think there's much that changes with that?
Well, this time round, we know that T1 will likely be forced to both ban Aurora and Yone.
True.
Which means that BLG kind of like free up a ban. I'm interested to see what their priority is. Based on the sound effects, that does sound like a different first ban, and it is. Forest going to be banned on the side of BLG. I wonder if they're going to look to implement a similar approach. No, they're going to ban away the Ashe themselves, and this is definitely screaming a Kalista first pick for BLG.
Yeah, because T1 kept on giving BLG the Ashe over to them when they were on red side, so they don't want to do the same thing. Definitely knowing the power of that. I think the real question here for T1 is, in addition to Yone and Aurora bans, is Jax still going to be like your target ban third? Are you still keeping that out of Bin's hands? Or do you feel confident to let them get it and play, the Gragas or the Gnar into it for Zeus, or even the Maokai top?
Because by leaving the Jax open, you're forcing BLG to make a choice between Kalista and Jax. And I think that T1 is likely considering that possibility. So I imagine, well, Vi is left available. So Kalista Vi, if the Jax is left open, and that's locked in first for BLG, I think that T1 would be very happy with that. Using all the time that Nico is going to be banned. So here's the Jax. Let's see what BLG choose to do with it.
My Sylas prio is also really high here. So Jax prio, Sylas prio, as well as Kalista prio.
Those are the three that really spring to mind. For T1 as well, the Vi has got its way through. BLG have banned that out in both games so far. Looks like it is going to be Kalista first for BLG.
And I think the response will be a Jax from Zeus. Even though we know Bin for the champion, Zeus is no stranger to it himself, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the Jax plus the Vi locked in here for T1. Maybe
Renata.
the Poppy. Oh, the Renata, of course. Why not? It's been such a fantastic pick for Keria.
And you do not want to give over Kalista Renata. The pairing is terrifying here. Pretty good response, honestly, I would say, from T1. Of course, Elk on the Kalista is such a fearsome bottom lane. We'll see what they can end up pairing it with, though. On likely going to try and get a pick here before this next round of bans come in.
Looks like Bin's just going to play the same thing he's played in every game so far. There is the Rumble for BLG.
Shoutouts to Bin also, because he's put so much work in on this Rumble. He spammed it in solo queue. It's one of his most played on his solo queue account here, and was spamming so many games on it in Champions queue as well.
Are we going to get this locked
Here
in?
we
We are! Blitzcrank for On as an answer to the Renata. I think it can be a great pick, and On, when he gets out on the map, he's going to be lethal.
The Ballista combo! I love this combo! This is one of the most funny combos you could possibly have for the mega grabs. This would be such a big step up, though. So much playmaking pressure on a Blitzcrank to really be effective and find value.
Also so reliant on having good vision control through the game, because Blitzcrank is basically impossible to play if the enemy sees you all of the time. All you're doing is running at them and hoping that they don't manage to dodge away from your hook.
And then the last of those prio picks that we were talking about, T1 do collect the Sylas as well.
And you think the ultimates are always what your key Rumble. Kalista potentially can be valuable, but also the juiced up AP scaling Blitz ult can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, it actually is.
Now the Akali going to be banned away. That respect being shown tonight. I wonder what else they could be thinking of. Maybe the Syndra, even a possibility. The problem with Knight is he has such a deep champion pool. At least he showcased. Like, do you also ban the Ahri away? We've seen Sylas used from both mid laners. Isn't even an answer into the Ahri. Is that something that they want to potentially deny? Is Sejuani taken away on the side of BLG?
Yeah, trying to focus. It's such an obvious ban here with Jax and Sylas, double melee solo laners. That would just be way too much power for Oner. But you were talking about the Vi earlier as well, Vidius. That is something that Oner has played a lot at this tournament. In fact, the most at this tournament, and has been critical in them getting some of those picks.
I think the Vi might open you up to perhaps a Poppy pick from BLG. It gives you a lot of power. There's already a bunch of dashes. You can put Poppy into the jungle. Shun could look for just some of that control into T1.
The thing that stands out to me was that Draven ban from BLG, recognizing that what's a good pairing with the Renata? Oh yeah.
Ooh, there we go. It was banned out in the second round of bans last game. Now we get to see the Kindred Galio combination from Shun and Knight. Shun is one of these players that has the signature Kindred as well as Nidalee. It was such a big pick for him at the MSI meta as well, and very, very excited to see him on it. It's with double AP solo laners as well. It's with playmakers in a Blitzcrank and a Galio for you on the front lines.
So while the Rumble and Galio for BLG remain the same, the other components are vastly different. And I mean, a lot of faith is being put in Shun and Elk here, especially when you think of the superstars of this roster and this BLG roster are Knight and Bin. They're the players that everyone talks about. They're the individuals that when you look at the immaculate carry performances, it's not like Elk is a stranger to it, but those two are the historical players that are expected to make it to these large international finals. And now the carry responsibility going to be falling on Shun, going to be falling on Elk. We'll see how they perform.
I think it's so incredible for Shun's story as well. You know, splitting time at this tournament, it's a very difficult thing to do as a professional player, to have to share practice time and go in and out of the roster. But coming in on this type of pick, BLG are saying we have confidence in you to not only be in here and play with us, but also play off of our picks. It's incredibly important for Kindred to have strong lanes to play off of. Galio has so much setup. You can try and go there for kills, plenty of CC for you, but also help you control the marks. And the Galio ultimate is just such a nice layer on top of Kindred ultimates here. So tons of synergy and tons of faith here, BLG showing in their jungler.
Here we go. It's a game 3 of the World's Final in the O2 Arena, where you've seen both teams both rise to the occasion, but also be burnt down by their opposition. It has been very one-sided in the wins. Everyone at home, got to remember that you can log in to your Riot account on lollysports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules. If you haven't done it already, you should definitely do it, because we're going to have 3 more games of this. Calling it now.
Hope so.
All the way to 5. BLG on the blue side for the first time. Their level 1s have been a sight to behold so far here. T1 are stacking up, ready and waiting, aware that BLG are looking for something.
And I already love what BLG have done here, getting the ward in there onto the blue buff to make sure that you know which side Oner is starting on. If you don't see him on the blue buff, by process of elimination, you know he's going to just start on the top side down. And Kindred into Vi is such a fun matchup there, mostly for the Kindred side. So we'll see about the lane swap coming out. Kalista plus Blitzcrank up to the top side here. Meanwhile, rotation over to the other side, and it looks like it is going to be Kindred actually starting on technically their weak side.
Can just path up towards the top side. Last time we saw a lane swap, both the junglers could just do full clears. We didn't see that invade that often you do see. Elk and On here going to be able to deny Zeus away from the wave. He immediately goes back just to help Oner with the Krugs. Gumayusi going out this wave. Knight going in, already hit the level 2. FLICKR takes a chunk of his HP for the pleasure of stepping up in the lane.
Look at the positioning of Bin in the bot lane. He is hiding just off in the fog of war, but close enough to actually get a bit of experience. He's about half a bar towards that level 2. Keria, though, going to spot him out, actually walks up and says, no, going to deny that experience and try and mitigate it as much as possible. This is different from the typical lane swaps we've seen a lot at the World Championship. Similar to what we saw in the previous game, rather than splitting the map, as you guys were highlighting, it is going to be these jungle full clears, pathing away from their weak side of the map, which means the threat of a dive is a little bit lower. But I'm keeping my eye on Oner right now. The pings have come down from Shun that Oner is likely on his wolves. With the pressure the Knight has in mid lane, it becomes harder for FLICKR to be able to roam down to join in a potential early game dive.
BLG also pushed their wave quickly here, while T1 actually just the last hitting, just the slowly building, pushing wave. And so this one crashing a bit later into Bin. He's still going to be able to get his level 2 though, and Oner still being on Grump means he's not currently under the extra pressure just yet. Plenty of time for the swap back here. Elk and On, they go for the recall after quickly pushing the wave like we talked about on top side into the rotation over.
See if Shun does win out on the coin flip that happens with the first Scuttle Crabs when you're playing on this Kindred. You can see all-time 35 and 15 on this pick, but it is a lot of weight to be put on his shoulders. Remember, coming into, well, LPL Summer Playoffs, it was Wei who was the first pick jungler for BLG. Coming into Worlds, it was Wei who was the first pick jungler. Ever since Shun came in, the team seems to have that little bit more coordination, but it's still a lot of weight of expectation when you get given a pick like this.
And since the Kindred mark for the very first spawn is just on Scuttle Crabs, he can just wait.
True.
As long as the other Scuttle Crab already taken there, you just wait and it will pop up eventually here on your Scuttle Crab as well. Just don't rush it down, but Zeus goes down for a little ward on it as well.
It's going to land here onto Keria. You can see the damage already going down into him. Gumayusi putting the feathers out. The Blade Caller doesn't connect with the root onto Elk.
Now we're going to see an interesting skirmish around that Scuttle, I expect, because a ward was placed by Zeus to spot it out. You can see Oner making his way towards it. FLICKR has to base, though, has no mana. Going to be forced to TP back into lane. Knight has the push. And here we go. The mark is there.
Can he burst it down here? He has Smite. Yoink.
He does. Oner manages to stop it from happening. But Shun is looking for more. He flashes forward. Knight on the flank as well. Oner's going to flash away. Counter-strike out from Zeus. Not quite able to connect. And the shooter Durand with the stun. His first blood again. The third time in 3 games for BLG.
A nice punish from BLG. Shun saying, I'm not going to let you get away with that. And he's able to secure the first Raptors respawn.
And I love this trick for Kindred players because, yeah, you're like, oh no, you technically stole away my first mark. Guess what? You were marked. And we got the kill on you. So he still got his mark.
Beautiful start for Shun. First blood, 3rd game in a row now for BLG. This time Gumayusi will avoid that advantage for BLG. But a small gold lead now. I guess you could say, unfortunately, it doesn't go onto the Kindred, but Bin, I think, putting that kill onto him, definitely a good place to get that gold.
I just love to see that too, because you know, everybody in solo queue when you're playing against Kindred, you always focus so much on denying them their marks and stealing them their marks. But in this scenario, you actually give over even more than if you had just let him grab the Scuttle. Mid lane prio, that's what it really comes back to. Knight there on the Galio, enabling his jungler again.
I will say, BLG burnt 3 flashes to do that. Oner only burnt 1, obviously to give across first blood, but there are some windows now where perhaps T1 can punish the fact that this Rumble in the top lane doesn't have a flash anymore, and you have a Jax with a flash and a Vi who can come in for the follow-up.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Medic, because the bot lane of T1 have moved to the top side, knowing that the Grub's spawning right now. The bot lane of BLG is also on their way. The wave is being pushed in mid, and BLG want to punish FLICKR.
FLICKR has flash, but the flash in from On into the pullback. FLICKR's down. On secures the kill.
We get to see some Blitzcrank value there. Goes in, immediately makes the play while Oner actually yoinked away one of the grubs. That's all you really need out of the first pack to at least put the threat of 4 on the second pack.
I mean, the good news from FLICKR's perspective is the kill went down to On. Bit of a mistiming on the Rend execution from Elk, meaning that he didn't quite have the damage to get the kill, so the Ignite ended up finishing it off. And FLICKR also didn't burn any summoners in that trade. He's now going to path up towards top, catch that wave as the bot lane of T1 transitions over to mid lane to match that of Elk and On.
2 marks here for Shun. Again, the 4th mark is where you get your nice range increase and you're fully operational. That's your big goal. And the Kindred here off to a very good start in this Kindred-centric comp. But there it is again.
I love the flash rocket punch because it really negates the ability for FLICKR to flash away. If you flash outside of the auto range, it's still going to connect. You still get knocked up, and then the grab comes out afterwards anyway.
Yeah, there was very little that FLICKR could do. He burned everything to just try and push the wave out. And so I guess the good news as well is that BLG didn't have a wave to actually push the mid tower. So they were able to get a single grub, which is definitely still an advantage because it means that on the next grub spawn, you can still look to try and contest, maybe even get 3 grubs for yourself, bringing you up to potentially 4. In any case, we turn our attention towards the Dragon as the next major objective. AD carries have moved towards the mid lane. You can see that Knight once again finds push on the bot side of the map, and it is going to be BLG to start this objective off.
Yeah, should be them finishing it off as well. I think it would be ridiculous for T1 to try and go contest that, so they just teleport up to the top side. Zeus will collect the minion wave there. No reason to throw anything else into this BLG fire that is growing in the early game.
So your sights on top lane as well. I thought Keria was actually looking for a roam up towards top, but good vision coverage from T1 on that side of the map. it would be a situation where Bin is at risk of getting dived, but with the wave situated as it is, he's chosen to back off, going back to base, and knowing that he is prone for a dive. And I wonder if he's going to path back up towards mid, or if he sets his sights back on top lane. It looks like top lane is his plan.
And I want to see BLG continue with these aggressive looks. Because they are running the Galio here for Knight, it really enables the aggressive positioning from either Shun or On here, constantly looking for plays on T1 members in rotations, between those lanes swapping over. So let's see if they can actually make use of it. Currently, keeping On and Elk through mid lane here, trying to deny this cannon. And it does go down there. Nicely done.
Ultimately, though, it's a very even game state. Even though there is a small goal lead in favor of BLG, a lot of that is sitting in the top lane in favor of Bin, thanks to the early kill that he was able to get. But this is what we wanted to see. Both teams relatively even, setting up nicely for a dragon.
I will say, at around the 10-minute mark in both the previous games, this was about the gold lead as well, Betty. So until we get past 15 minutes...
I'm going to be optimistic, Medic.
Cool. You want to be optimistic, I can understand that. It is relatively even right now, but often the game starts to explode around that 15-minute mark.
It certainly does. First items are going to be crucial. You'll notice that Bin looking to rush his Leandries, get that item completed as quickly as possible, something that we often see on these rumbles, whereas the early prioritization on the Merc Treads from Zeus makes a lot of sense. Both the Galio and the Rumble, very valuable things to have Merc Treads against, but no major items completed just yet. The Grub spawning in about a minute's time, and Knight continuing to trade with FLICKR on the bot side of the map.
Yeah, both the teams just willing to have this push and pull between the waves, It's about getting towards those first items, getting towards the next neutral objective that's spawning. So although it looks like it's in action, it's just these small microcosms of action happening in each lane to try and find those minute advantages.
And now you got to check those reset timers actually just before the second pack of grubs. A little interruption there, and now FLICKR cancels his recall on the bomb side, so he's not going for his base preemptively. He goes back to deal with the wave that Knight is pushing up.
Bin getting a nice push here. Yeah. Is sitting on just short of 1,000 gold right now. He has the Rumble ultimate as well. He's going to use it to clear the wave. They're looking for a dive.
TP coming in, might just be looking for another plate here as well. Knight going in with the taunt. Bin doesn't really have much left. Put the damage down. Shun on his way across them, and we'll have that Lamb's Respite. Zeus already down to 300 HP. Looking for a leap strike away, but Zeus falls. Knight tanks the tower. Meanwhile, the hostile takeover goes just short of Elk as he flashes to safety. BLG able to survive down towards the bottom side.
Beautiful reward there for BLG getting their first.
Boom. Flash hook from On, they look for more. FLICKR goes back in, but the hero's entrance will bring Knight coming crashing down. FLICKR down to 300 HP. Bin now has that flank position, and the Leandry's complete. Oner jumps onto him with the Bolt Breaker and is able to keep him away from FLICKR for the moment. FLICKR dashes across the wall. Keria's life will be forfeit to keep FLICKR alive. Brings out the bailout, but falls immediately after. FLICKR trying to escape. Knight still on the chase.
So beautifully done there from BLG. As you say, they're not done yet. Still seeking FLICKR.
Oh, but he didn't spot him. He doesn't actually know if he interrupted him or not. He's fishing for him. He's hunting. He wonders if FLICKR's still here.
Now he's seen him. Where are you going to go, FLICKR? Already absconded, already abducted. Elk is on his way to try and accept this kill as a tribute to him. Knight comes in from the side and will make sure that FLICKR doesn't have the luxury of executing.
That's 5 kills now for BLG, 11.5 minutes in. They have just been finding pick after pick, and it was such a well-executed dive on the top side, converted into a nice setup on the grubs, that BLG are once again outplaying T1.
And I want to highlight how BLG did it. They took over the jungle first. They're positioning first towards the objective, and then they got the early route through your jungle with the extra wards there, and being able to pull off that dive with the teleport. Nicely done. I have to say, though, fellas, are we in store for a third stomp in this game?
This is why you don't talk in 10 minutes, Benny. Yeah, 12 minutes in, it is a massive lead now for BLG. 3,000 gold ahead. They're getting those first items complete as well. It's an opportunity first for Elk. FLICKR has managed to get himself a rocket belt, so he is kind of equivalent with Knight, but Knight has 1,000 gold lead and is starting to build up towards those next items.
And what's fascinating is it's a quiet game for Knight, but his impact has been instrumental.
Yeah.
You'll see it in a lot of the trades that he has against FLICKR, but he's just out pushing FLICKR in the side lane, building a CS lead, building an experience lead that we didn't get to see in Game 2, but then that converted pressure is working wonders on the map.
And that battle in the mid lane is one that has been raging for years. Knight, domestically a Titan, has the tied most domestic titles of any mid laner in the LPL. Obviously, FLICKR stands above all. Stands atop the mountain, but Knight has yet to have that international success at Worlds. He's won an MSI with JDG in 2023, but Worlds is yet to become his playground as BLG look for a play on the top side. Equalizer down, Oner able to dodge away with the Vault Breaker, escapes the rocket grab from On. Will they look for more? They still have the Lamb's Respite, remember, from the Kindred. That invulnerability field as Zeus is down to about half HP. He gets the leap strike out and BLG will just force T1 away for now.
Yeah, T1 have to leave because Knight is in mid lane threatening that Galio ultimate. This mid laner you're talking about that does so much for his team on the Galio. Their game versus HLE especially, some of these team fights, people were popping off. Elk, oh my god, insane play in these team fights, but that actually created so much space for him. Keria actually, Renata ultimate.
Oh my god, I mean, this is such a crazy thing that's happening right now. T1 committed the teleport to the bot side knowing that that was their only option for a cross map, but Knight again got to bot wave and able to clear things out. T1 quickly adapt though, they convert their pressure into mid, they're able to unlock that tower while BLG actually keep the bot tower alive. Knight doesn't quite interrupt the reset from FLICKR, and now T1 can convert this into a dragon, but I think BLG is still more than happy with how things have played out.
Yeah, they want to keep on snowballing here, get the Rift Tail, keep on taking down these towers, open up more space on the map for you to position so aggressively with these Blitzcrank plays, backed up by the threat of a Galio ultimate. The invades coming from Kindred, so much more fearsome when you have that defense of a Galio ult coming through, or even the long range of Rumble ultimates being able to follow there. So BLG, again, resetting after the Rift Herald as Knight pushes up once again, but they can immediately send that Rift Herald and everybody towards mid lane to try and pressure and knock down the domino line of outer towers.
Managing to open up that mid lane tier 1 as well just gives you so much more flexibility on the map. You can step into the jungle, you can start to steal away these camps. It's what we've seen both teams do so well from an advantageous position throughout this series. BLG 4,500 gold ahead, and they are forcing T1 out of their jungle. T1, thankfully for them, managed to pick up these camps before BLG were able to make their advance, but BLG will use that pressure to push through bot. They still have the Rift Herald in pocket as well if they want to look for a tier 2 down here, or if they do want to open up mid.
I mean, just look at the pressure that BLG is exerting right now. On the minimap, it feels like that everything is collapsing for T1. They're trying their best to cross map, but that top tower is barely dented. Zeus should be able to get it, but they're going to lose so much in exchange. The bot tier 2 is going to be secured. BLG ballooning their gold lead now to 6k.
And all the towers are not equal value. The outer tower is 550 gold for your team. The secondary towers on the side lanes only, worth a full 800 for your team, so even bigger rewards there still for BLG, and while they're investing their Rift Herald into those tier 2s, so many of the towers already wiped clean off the map, and it really does show in their gold lead.
I think what's crucial about this draft as well is we saw it in Game 1 where by leaving the Oner open, BLG were able to find a way in which they could shut down T1. Not only did T1 get the Sylas, Oner got his Vi, Gumayusi got his hands on the Xayah, and Keria got Renata. Like, you look at this draft from T1, and it's like, there's a lot of very comfort picks here. Zeus, also a very good Jax player. And BLG are just running rings around them. The way that they're finding these picks, the way that they're executing upon these plays, to see T1 being put under this kind of pressure is something that we really haven't seen any team do at this World Championship.
Yeah, specifically at this World Championship, though, because in the LCK Summer, we saw this a lot. We saw T1 struggling to have the coordination that we've seen from them at Worlds. Remember, they were only just the 4th seed from the LCK, one game away from it being KT, who perhaps would be here today. BLG, though, have been like this the entire year, from spring to MSI, and now into Worlds. They are a dominant team, and when they get a lead at 15 minutes, they have about an 88% win rate, and we've seen that so far at this tournament. Heroes Entrance coming out. T1 trying to defend this mid-tier 1. Nightlock underneath the tower, but he is damn tanky right now. And already, Oner is down. The counter Heroes Entrance coming out from FLICKR. He stole one away just to to escape the play. BLG lose Knight, but they take the mid-tier 1.
Ooh, that was very aggressive. On under tower, they go for the Blitzcrank ult, and they start the play very, very early. They still get it, and they trade in the kills.
I really thought that was going to be a huge throw for BLG. T1 did a good job of clearing out the wave first, before then turning their attention onto BLG, and it felt like that their focus was divided between the tower and the fight, but somehow they get away with a 1-for-1 along with securing the objective.
Yeah, again, and the extra objective you talk about, yeah, the outer tower at 500 gold, plus the kills, but here's the early hook on the Blitzcrank to start it out. So they're still tanking tower a bit. They're fine with it. Galio ult comes down. Renata does delay them under it. Then they're trying to both get their kills, but then also finish off the tower.
Ends up being Knight falling in exchange for Oner. FLICKR steals away the Galio ultimate to help with the disengage. You can feel the tension in the arena as T1, their backs are getting closer and closer to that wall. BLG continuing to extend the gold lead. Dragon spawns in 55 seconds. You imagine the T1 is going to look to concede this objective, as right now they're not really in a position to win a fight.
Importantly for Shun, he was able to pick up a mark in that fight on Oner and also take away a Gromp that was marked from Oner's jungle. So now he is at 4 marks. It was a very long time coming. Often you see, especially in solo queue, you see Kindreds really get those marks racked up early, but when you're not having as much action, it's harder to find them. And when the enemy team is playing around taking those camps away, obviously it will take you a little bit longer. But that Kindred, very much a champion now, has all of that extended extra range coming out from the marks.
And they have complete control here leading up to the Dragon. T1 doing their best to try and get some safe vision through their own jungle, but it's just so scary, constantly having to deal with On just fishing, throwing out these hooks from Blitzcrank. And there's so much extra power here on the side of BLG with all their money.
FLICKR steals away the equalizer pin, puts one down of his own, but the rest of BLG are here to join the party. Outnumbered, outgunned. FLICKR falls in the side lane, tries to clear out the wave. I think that cannon will survive, as will the backcasters.
I mean, often we talk about how when teams commit into collapsing onto FLICKR, something is often lost as a consequence, but here, FLICKR is just overextended on the side lane. He has no tier 2 tower to run to, and there's nowhere else on the map that T1 can really put pressure down towards. So BLG, they secure themselves another pick. They're going to secure the Dragon uncontested, kind of as we expected. And T1, the best they can look for is vision on the top side of the map, ready for a potential Baron play.
All right, finish up in their own jungle first to take all of the rewards. I mean, Ben just kind of walked up to him on the side lane and take away the jungle camps, take away their lives. Another mark here for Shun. 6 now on the Kindred, really accelerated.
BLG in a commanding position. I was the one that said I expected a closer game here. I was looking forward to some very close fights, but after that top lane tower dive, BLG have just been in the driver's seat. T1, their tools, their option, the way in which they can come back into this game is trying to find picks. They have Vi and they have Sylas. Great setup for a potential catch on a side lane. The problem is they can't really get much control over the side lanes as BLG look to do to T1 what they were doing to them in game 2 by just constantly keeping these waves pushed in and suffocating their vision, making T1's playmaking options very limited.
There's one flank ward in the top lane. You can see just next to where the blue buff would be. There's one in the mid lane as well. Knight here stepping forward. FLICKR spotted on vision as T1 decide not to pull the trigger on the plays. Zeus and FLICKR do have their teleport, so if you're looking to shut someone down, Knight is an option because he will often be on that side lane, but he has 2 items already, Riftmaker as well, giving him that Omnivamp if he's in combat for a long time. And with Shun waiting around the corner, might come around towards mid. TP behind, they're looking for the play. It's Knight who's locked down, the rest of BLG are trying to get into it. TP coming out as well, the hostile takeover used, immediately locks up Bin, but look at the damage, there just is none, and now Shun is here to join the battle. Zeus tries to jump on top of him, Knight falling low, he gets the taunt though, and Bin's already on a rampage. Oner has to dash away, Guma didn't even get an opportunity to join the fray, and On doesn't want to give him an opportunity to leave. BLG 5-4, and Baron is on the menu.
They go at Knight, but he's too tanky, and BLG are going to respond in kind. The Baron will be theirs.
They were limited on their options, but the TP flank was a great idea. The problem is the damage. You highlighted it, Kobe. Knight was too tanky. They didn't have enough. And on the re-engage, BLG just melted T1.
We look like we're gonna get another one-sided game in this series, back and forth. BLG here kind of on the precipice, winning this one, pushing them to a match point in the series. Here's another look at it. As you say, T1 know that they are falling so far behind in this game. They've got to try and make one of these overloaded plays to the side lane. So they try and get the jump on tonight, but it's so difficult. The defense there, Bin immediately arrives, Shun right afterwards, and so they don't even have to use a Kindred ultimate. Didn't even force anything out of BLG there, just too far ahead.
And then look at the damage that's going to come through from Elk as well. Going for the lethality build, that Q just tore Gumayusi apart. And, I mean, BLG, now with the lead that they have, they'll be setting their sights on the inhibitor towers of T1's base. T1 have to be thinking about Game 4. They bounced back incredibly well in Game 2. You imagine they'll be looking to get back onto the blue side, but this game feels done and dusted. It's just a matter of how BLG put the final nail in the coffin.
If you're T1, you need something miraculous right now, but we've already seen how the damage lacks, especially if Gumayusi isn't there. FLICKR has finished up his Rift Maker, but he's sitting at 0-4-1 in this game. Has been well and truly shut out by BLG, who are now advancing through the top side. Knight has the hero's entrance to join a play if it does occur. BLG, though, can just step forward. T1 really can't find an avenue to approach this next fight. On looking for the Hex Slash hook. Doesn't quite connect. Knight, though, doesn't have a wave in the mid lane. Could go across towards bot. The next wave's still about 20 seconds away from crashing into that mid lane inhibitor tower. And here's the engage. Knight locked up, tried to Justice Punch away, but once again, T1 are engaging on the tankiest member of BLG, and they can't find anything with it. That's a Fate's Call used. That's the hostile takeover invested as well from Keria, and BLG shrug it off, shrug their shoulders, and begin the advance once again.
T1, and not much they can do in the face of this LPL onslaught. They're just going to have to watch two inhibitors go down, and still...
I don't think they're going to stop at 2.
Still, they've got another 34 seconds left on this Baron, and so they're immediately pushing this one down as well.
I mean, all I'm thinking of right now is what a great story for Shun it has been. You guys already mentioned what happened during the regular season with the income of Wave, but to bring out the Kindred now once again, the TP flank.
Hook going down, cease and desist, they're looking to lock down Shun. Keria already fallen as the hero's entrance will block Shun from taking any more damage. Alongside that for Lamb's Respite. T1 have lost their support, but can they find the fight? Xayah spots a stopwatch, doesn't have much mana left. As Knight goes in for the engage and still lands the taunt. Gumayusi down to half HP. Xayah has already fallen as BLG continue to advance. Oner, Gumayusi, and FLICKR trying to hold the line here. They managed to find something. They got 2 kills out of it, but they've lost 3 inhibs for it.
I mean, it's the best fight that T1 have been able to find so far in this game, but the problem is they're too far behind. At the end of that fight, Knight literally just walked menacingly towards T1 and said, "You're not defending this inhibitor, concede it now," and they're going to get a Dragon as well. BLG, 3 inhibitors secured, Dragon as well.
Here's another look at it. The teleport very deep in the jungle. Oh, that was quite nice, actually. Oner with his ultimate, able to still stay connected, but they have the emergency buttons of the Galio and the Kindred ultimate, which kept their backline alive while they killed off Keria.
Flash in from Guma, throws out the ultis to secure the kill onto On. Zeus, though, he'd already committed everything to try and getting a kill. Means that on the retreat, it ends up being a trade back. And Guma, with no flash, leaves him more susceptible. But I mean, right now, T1, they're just left with the scraps of their base as BLG walk away with everything.
BLG on the precipice of winning this series, of claiming the world title once again. It's been 4 years ago on Suning. He wasn't quite able to take that final hurdle. Coming back here, he said, "I want to win the glory back for the LPL." And I think that resurrection for the LPL, that redemption so important for them, redemption as well for BLG as they lost to Weibo last year and weren't able to make it to the finals. Now, with 3 waves of super minions pushing in, BLG are forcing T1 to make their final stand in this game. Oner goes in with a bolt breaker, hooked in as well, the cease and desist. Sylas Ultimate stolen away, a hero's entrance is followed by a second, but it looks like FLICKR's more like Icarus than any hero taking to the skies. Knight pumps a stopwatch, T1 go pop. Zeus locked up towards the top side, already 4 for naught for BLG. as they are looking to take us to match point.
A convincing Game 3 victory from BLG. Bin calm and cool as he walks off the stage. But BLG have come into this series looking nothing but confident.
You could say that again. Straight from draft, straight from the level ones, in game, clean.
It really was. We're going to be back with Game 4 in just a few moments' time. Don't you dare go anywhere.
This is what you asked for. Heavy is the crowd. Fire in the sunrise. Ashes raining down. Heavy is the crowd.
You wish.
In the dojo.
You wanna head high?